We have known for some time that the world is in flux. The familiar signposts are fading, but the contours of a new global system have yet to take shape. So we are in a period of transition, uncertain, unsettled, and increasingly unstable.
We should mention as well. So when you take a step back and look at these massive numbers, what it really amounts to is trade between the world's two biggest economies, almost impossible in practical terms now, just completely decimated in a matter of weeks. And it's really hard to overstate the impact that will have, not just here in China, but on the global economy as well.
On April 2nd, 2025, the President of the United States of America announced a new policy regarding tariffs on foreign goods entering the American market. This policy entails applying a tax on imported goods, which will be collected by the US government. The announcement led to significant reaction in global markets, particularly affecting stock markets. Welcome to the podcast, What About Me? With me, your host, Linda. Today, we will discuss the global trade war between the USA and China. The US President Donald J. Trump has initiated this conflict, believing his country, the USA, has been unfairly treated and that the rules in the global market need changing. Are tariffs beneficial for America? As we enter a new economic era, markets must adapt to different ideologies. Traditional rules are being replaced, and we will analyze whether these new rules perform better. The USA has influenced global market regulations, but at a cost to its own economy. While the market has created elites such as Elon Musk, Donald J. Trump, this benefits only a few, pushing many Americans towards socialism over capitalism, which once drove US trade dominance. This week saw increased tensions between China and the USA, both led by resolute leaders unwilling to
The impact's
concede.
going to be absolutely enormous. I mean, the whole world has been watching all day to see what China would do. And in the end, it was decisive, exactly matching what Donald Trump announced on Wednesday. In total, American goods coming into this country taxed at 84%. That's in addition to previous tariffs on specific products left over from earlier. There was also action actually against 18 American companies, we should mention as well. So when you take a step back and look at these massive numbers, what it really amounts to is trade between the world's two biggest economies, almost impossible in practical terms now, just completely decimated in a matter of weeks. And it's really hard to overstate the impact that will have, not just here in China, but on the global economy as well. I'm currently in the city of Yiwu. This is the home to the world's largest wholesale market. If you've ever bought anything with a Made in China label on it, it was very likely bought from here. Importers from all over the world, they come here, they mass buy products, and they ship them abroad and sell them. And traders in that market today were saying that their business has already just fallen off a cliff. One gentleman telling me his orders have gone down 60% already. So just totally devastating for the individual traders that work here. I think in the end, China made a calculation that it just couldn't be seen to not respond. There is a really deep-seated belief here amongst the upper echelons of government that the US's ultimate end goal is to restrain China, to hold it back, to undermine it. And when you take it in that context, really giving in just isn't an option. It isn't practical. It doesn't serve a purpose for the Chinese. But I do think it is worth saying that they have really specifically chosen to avoid some measures that were being touted that would have been far more provocative, if you like. They've chosen to match Donald Trump tariff for tariff instead of taking some measures such as, for example, ceasing all cooperation over fentanyl. That was one of the things that was touted. That would be hugely provocative to Donald Trump. There was also suggested measures such as targeting very, very high-profile American companies like Tesla or Apple, perhaps even doing things like banning the import of American films. I mean, things like that would have been hugely significant culturally as well as just economically. But finally, I just want to leave you with this thought. These two superpowers have disagreed over so much over the years, and trade has really been the backstop, the one issue over which they were always linked. And without that, there are real questions about where this relationship goes next.
I believe tariffs are necessary at this historical moment. Trump and his administration are uniquely positioned to shake the markets, which is needed for better market stability. Currently, the markets are in turmoil, but I believe they will eventually stabilize. The markets have been protected for too long, causing panic when they deviate from the norm. For a better understanding of the current global changes, the markets must adapt to the new world order. After World War II, the EU implemented tariffs to rebuild the continent due to the extensive damage caused by the conflict. The creation of the European Economic Community facilitated Europeans to establish a strong economic market. Member countries formed a united front, requiring any country outside the community to pay tariffs for trade within the community. Article 2 of the EEC Treaty states the aim of the community shall be to establish a common market and progressively promote a higher standard of living and closer relations between its member states. On 1st January 1958, that law laid the foundation for what we now recognize as the European Union market. The Europeans used tariffs to limit trade for countries outside the community. This was brutal for other countries. The economies failed because they had to pay a tariff to trade with the Europeans. It forced countries nearby to join the community, which eventually became the European Union. Today, the EU is an economic force in the markets. That said, to strengthen the economy, the USA needs robust measures like tariffs. Although tough, these measures will rebuild the economy of the USA and lead to prosperity. Countries wishing to trade with the USA must seek bilateral agreements. The world needs a strong USA due to its capitalistic trade character. A weak USA economy means a weak global economy. Billionaires such as Jeff Bezos have benefited from the global market because they make cheap stuff in China and then bring them to the USA with no extra trade, and they sell those goods expensively, making them the top 1% richer, while the people in the middle class struggle to pay for rent and pay for grocery. Therefore, Trump and his administration are fighting for the middleman so that the middleman does not struggle to buy housing or put food on the table for their children.